All right, properties of matter. Let's look at physical properties. Physical properties is physical characteristic that identify a substance which can be observed without doing any kind of chemical reaction, without doing any kind of change to it. So it's something you can see, you can taste, smell, touch, you can measure it, but you don't have to change it. So
Using your five senses.
Yeah, your five senses are a big thing there. You can see, is it heavy? Is it blue? Is it round? Is it possibly like,
Wet.
made of rock or wet?
What is its density?
What is its density? What's its volume? All of these different things. Like the picture that we have down there, you can say like, the different colors of the lights would be physical properties that we're not talking about the chemical makeup of the water itself. We're just literally talking about, hey, it's a physical property. I can see it. This sweatshirt is gray. That one is black. This one is blue. Very basic, but also very important for identifying stuff.
Now, chemical properties are characteristics of substances that you can really only observe through a chemical reaction. So some classic ones are how reactive it is, how flammable it is. If you look at that picture, there's like that little diamond that has all the little colors there. You might have seen that like at the gas station near like propane sitting outside.
Yeah.
And what that is, it's showing chemical properties of the substance.
So you're saying a chemical property is something we can't just see or just look at. We
Yeah.
have to do some kind of reaction, some kind of chemical
would
process
we- Or
light it
to
on fire.
change it.
Right.
Well,
you
lighting
gotta do
stuff on fire is always a chemical property.
So
Yeah.
you got to do some kind of like
I know it's fun in a
sciencey
safe
test
environment.
type thing.
Yeah, you have to do some kind of sciencey test type thing to find the chemical properties.
It's a scientific
Couldn't have
phrase.
said it better myself.
Yep.
Exactly.
Look at that.
So now we know the thing about physical properties and chemical properties. We have to look a little bit at how those things change. So a physical change is a change in a substance where the chemical makeup, so like what it's actually made out of, doesn't change.
Yeah.
All that's going to change is like the appearance of it, or how it looks, like what it smells like, what it might feel like. We're not talking about like going from like water and all of a sudden turning into acid or something crazy like that. This is things like going from liquid water to solid water, which would be freezing, or going to melt, which would be melting.
Yeah,
I
it would
guess.
be melting.
So those are all state
Or
changes.
boiling it.
Right. Those are all state changes, which are also known as phase changes. And those are all physical changes. But you could also like tear a piece of paper. You could crumple a piece of paper. You could color on a piece of paper. You could tattoo your face crazy style like Mike Tyson. It's still just a physical change. The big thing with physical change is you don't get anything new. It's still just the same substance.
Yeah, it's the same,
It may not
same
look the
thing
same.
before and after.
But it's still the same.
So if you used very high-tech technology to look at the molecules in your ice cube, and then you let it melt, and then you looked at it again, it would look like the same
Same
thing because it
molecules.
would still be water every
Different
time.
shape.
So
Take
one-
a lump of clay, smash it flat, it's still clay.
Right.
As opposed to chemical changes. Chemical change is a change in which we do make a new substance. So physical, you didn't get anything new. You just kind of change its shape, change its form. In this, a chemical change, you've got something different after you do that chemical reaction, we call it. A classic one, burning something. You take a log, it's got cellulose, which is a type of sugar. We burn that, put very high heat on there. Now it breaks down. You're mainly going to get carbon, that black sooty stuff that's left there. It'll give off carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide as a gas. You're going to get some water vapor, which is going to go off of that.
Yep.
And all of those are just that cellulose breaking apart through a chemical reaction facilitated by fire.
And it's
Rust.
a bunch of new substances.
It's
after
new
that, yeah.
stuff. It's
Things
new
that
stuff.
weren't there
It's-
before.
It's not the same thing. You can't grab all those and just stick them back together and remake that log. It has been changed.
Right.
The same thing with rust. Like if you guys take a look at the picture of that car right there, that brown substance that you see on there is it's iron oxide. And the iron that's in the metal and the steel of the body of that car reacts with oxygen, reacts with water in the air, and it makes a brand new compound that is not just steel. It makes a stuff called iron oxide, which is a cruddy brown rust that's on there.
And it falls
Now,
apart.
yeah, you can remove that, but by removing it, I mean, that iron oxide is not steel. They're two separate things. So you can't put it back to being steel. You're just basically removing the cruddy
Yeah.
parts.
Another way to look at chemical change is you take all the molecules that something's made out of, and you take them apart and you rearrange them into new chemicals, new compounds that
Yeah.
come out of it. So like with the log one he was talking about, you take your carbon, hydrogen, oxygen that's all together for cellulose, and then you separate and rearrange and move it around, and then you got water and carbon dioxide and monoxide and
Yep.
carbon.
In the case of iron oxide, it's iron and oxygen by themselves, but then they're binding together to actually
To make a brand new substance.
And just because you had these two things, now they're together. I mean, putting them together, by definition, makes it a new substance. They weren't previously bound together.
Yeah, they're bound together, and it pulls
Chemically
iron right out of the steel there, and then the steel is weakened because of it, and that's why stuff falls apart when it rusts.
All right.
Yep.
Well, I think
That's
that's about
it.
it.
Booyah.
Have a good night or day.